Uh-oh. Chill out, dude.
Run away, I'll carbon beam, knock your legs off. Try to get away, had to stand off. Hit him in the spine, knock his dreads off. My wood is cold blind. I didn't let them red the most. Dunking in my roof. Ride with a T-shirt. I heard he shot. Circle make a beatbox. He made a shot. Roll his throttle, never come. Had a mess. Jerk gon' make a beatbox.
Okay, Magnum style, my homies gang style. My money long like beach towels. They judging me, but I ain't on trial. I'm a hot boy, through belly mouth. My flow hard like it's around. I take it down so she tap out. So I'ma call you Mr.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Chokeslam Radio. My name is Big Unknown.
I'm DRW15, and we have another special guest this week,
My name's Seth.
Seth Pope, wrestling fanatic, as some might call him, Seth freaking Pope. And we're excited. We're excited to discuss another amazing week of wrestling.
And it really has been quite an amazing week. Are we getting any feedback right now? Wait. Never mind. I think we're good. Anyway, it's been quite an amazing week. You know, we had SmackDown on Friday, and then, of course, we had the big event, Backlash on Saturday, and it's everything that I could have hoped for and more, because this French crowd really brought it, and I'm very proud for the country of France, and I could tell that they were proud to be part of the WWE universe that night.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I want to say shout out France for giving an amazing crowd. It must be hard when soccer is the only sport you have. You know, it's hard to get excited about soccer. You sit there for 90 plus minutes and wait for someone to kick a ball into a net. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So when you get an event like the WWE, when you get an event like Backlash, you know, the crowd's going to go crazy. And they did that. And it was a good crowd. I think people were saying online, one of the best crowds in a while for WWE, better than WrestleMania. I know Carson was at WrestleMania and maybe wasn't as into it as some of the French people. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, Carson, but I will say that the French people are definitely into it.
The problem with WrestleMania was it was really cold. Everyone was freezing their ass off, and then they were also selling beers for like $20, so nobody was drinking. So but it was a little bit warmer for night 2, so people were more into it, and it was a great time, especially for that final match. But I mean, people are not watching these shows to watch the fans. You know, I kind of felt like the fans were acting like making the show all about them. You know, people are there to watch wrestling, not watch a bunch of fanboys do all these weird soccer chants. Like, this is not, you know, FIFA. This is a much more competitive sport.
I'm going to have to disagree, though. I think the fan environment definitely makes a difference. You know, I think the crowd at Raw last night was pretty into it. Definitely added to it, especially in the Gunther versus Sheamus fight. The crowd definitely was starting to hate on Gunther, but we'll get into that later on, I'm sure. So
yeah, no, I agree with Seth that there's a lot of pressure on the U.S. crowds now to sort of follow up what happened in France over the weekend. So I think it's a good thing. I saw people were starting to get more into the Yeet with Jey Uso's entrance, and as Seth said, the match at the end of the night the crowd was getting into it, because I think people saw what impact the crowd can have. So I want to say shout out France. You know, they've they've had a tough couple decades with all the world wars and stuff going on over there. Always coming out on the wrong side. So I'm glad that it's sort of a revenge tour for them a little bit, and they've been waiting for this moment. So,
Andrew, I just want to point out that they did win both of the world wars with
but
us.
they needed us. France definitely needed us in both world wars, and I think now the WWE needed them a little bit in Backlash this weekend. So this is their chance to sort of pay us back for helping them out World War I, World War II. So I think we can call it. Yeah.
I think it's a good thing that Chad Gable was not involved with the event because as we saw a few weeks ago when they were in Canada, and as we saw last night, as a representative of our country, an Olympic athlete, when you bring a show like this into another country and disrespect the wrestlers of other nations, that's not a good thing for global tensions.
No. And we saw that last night. Me and Seth were excited to watch the Chad Gable match, but all of a sudden Sami Zayn came out of nowhere, ruined the match. And that's, I think, retaliation for what happened in Canada. As you say, I think we're lucky that didn't happen in France, but he attacked an Australian wrestler. And now Australia is involved. Those are 3 countries, the US, Canada, and Australia, that now have bad blood between them because of Chad Gable. So I'm worried to see what happens.
Yeah. It just kind of, if you look back at the history of global tensions like this, it usually just starts out with 2 opposing countries, but then it sort of is like a domino effect. So now we have Australia involved, which is another like powerhouse, you could say. And who knows what's going to happen next.
I'm curious to see, what happens if Gunther gets brought into this, and then Austria and Germany are going to be dragged in. I don't know, man.
Yeah, this is exactly how World War I started, and we saw World War II a couple of years after because people still weren't happy about it. So this could be World War III and World War IV before we know it, all because of Chad Gable's actions in Canada a few weeks ago.
I mean, WWE versus WW3.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, no.
World War III. It's all, we call it the Triple H era. This might be the World War III era if we're not careful.
Yeah, somebody really needs to get Chad Gable under control. I think honestly at this point he might, only because he didn't do anything wrong yesterday, because Sami Zayn attacked him, but I can see him being really riled up after this because he was already angry. After this, now he's going to be going crazy, and I really hope he doesn't do something that causes a big disturbance in the WWE universe and the Earth universe.
Yeah. I think the actions that happen in the WWE universe can definitely have significant effects on stuff that happens globally, politically, so on and so forth. As Seth mentioned earlier, Gunther and Sheamus, big powerhouses from other countries. We don't want to get those guys involved. They put on a great show last night. As Sheamus said, banger after banger after banger, and they put on a banger last night. But
that was definitely a banger.
Yeah, but we want to keep these feuds in the ring, and I'm worried that Chad Gable is doing too much, and countries and political leaders are going to get involved soon.
Carson, do you think there'll be any backlash, from Sheamus for the dirty kick to the leg by Gunther's hype man there?
I mean, Imperium, they have been doing this type of thing for a while and have gotten away with it. And this just goes back to poor leadership from the WWE. And, it goes back to Triple H. And people have been giving me a lot of crap for talking bad about him. But, I mean, everyone is following this man Triple H, but is he really that great of a leader? I don't think so, because he lets stuff like this slide constantly with Imperium, with the Bloodline, with Judgment Day, with Liv Morgan attacking Rhea Ripley. It happens every single episode at this point, and it's just frustrating how no one can get this under control. And it actually led me to an idea that I wanted to propose, because I know people within the WWE watch our show. R-Truth has been retweeting some of our tweets recently, but I wanted to pitch this idea to the WWE, and we have many more of these ideas too if you would like to hire us as a consultant. But I wanted to bring up the idea of a WWE security championship belt for whoever the best security guard is. And that way these security guards are going to be motivated better to defend the wrestlers in the ring, so we don't have someone like Sami Zayn trying to disturb a match. And maybe we could say, like, if a security guard is able to pin a wrestler, then they get that belt. But it has to be only if the wrestler is breaking a rule, because we don't want the security just attacking wrestlers for no reason. So what do you guys think about that?
It could be interesting. I think you'd have to clarify on the rules side, because, is it, what type of rules is he breaking? Is it an unwritten rule? Is it a written rule? Does it have to be outside of the ring? I think there's a few there that probably make a difference. I think probably outside of the ring, and breaking a rule would be like the easiest kind of basic guidelines, but there would have to be a little bit more going into it.
I think that somebody who would be a great determiner, who would be a great judge of the rules is the Undertaker, because I know that people regard him as the locker room leader, and whatever Undertaker says goes, and he's the person that people go to settle these kinds of disputes. So maybe sort of like, have you guys seen the movie John Wick?
Yeah,
I have. Yeah, I'm familiar.
So maybe Undertaker could be the person to sort of put a wrestler on as excommunicado whenever they break a rule. And whenever that goes into effect, then the security guards can begin their pursuit.
That would be an interesting one. I think Pat McAfee could also be a good enforcer there. Good judge.
Yeah.
We've seen him take down Austin Theory, one of the best. Yeah. But I don't think that Pat McAfee would be able to stop someone like Gunther or like.
I don't think he would be able to stop
Omos,
them, but I think he would be able to judge them. And I think I think that the wrestlers themselves also, would respect his decision there, his judgment, and not go to attack him.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great point.
Because you don't want them to attack you, right? With the Undertaker, he might make the decision, and then Gunther might just punch him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus with Pat McAfee, I think they know, it's kind of off limits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the problem really comes back to Triple H, though. Like, I don't think we should even be having this conversation. If Triple H was the man that people thought he was, wrestlers wouldn't be just going out, breaking the rules, hurting other wrestlers outside the ring when they know that it's illegal, because they know that Triple H won't do anything about it. And I know Triple H used to be this WWE superstar. He used to be all that, but now that he's the CEO, he's just hasn't been the same man. I think wrestlers are taking advantage of it, and the WWE has turned dirty. And I think we do need someone to step up and bring it back to what it used to be. So it might be the Undertaker, but right now Triple H hasn't proven that he's willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to, the WWE turning dirty and, not having the same sort of honor as it used to. Let's talk about the women's fight last night, where the tag team came in and one of the wrestlers just ran away.
Yeah. Damage Control showed up, and Liv Morgan wanted nothing to do with that. I don't blame her. But at the same time, I think she knows that her eyes are on Mommy, and whenever Mommy comes back, that's who's going to run the women's division again. And it's just a bunch of phonies in the ring fighting over a phony belt.
And it just shows a lot about the type of character that Liv Morgan is. Like, she's willing to attack someone when they're not expecting it, but once it's a fair fight, she runs away. So it just kind of shows how how people are taking advantage of these loose rules in the WWE.
Yeah, I think she's distracted right now. She's going after Dom a little bit. There have been some rumors around the WWE universe maybe that Dom is falling into her trap because he doesn't have a mommy right now. We'll see what happens with that. But Liv Morgan is definitely doing everything she can outside of the ring to better herself. But I think her in the ring skills are lacking a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, going back to what you just said about Dom, I wanted to address that because I don't think that, he doesn't make the smartest decisions in the ring sometimes, but I don't think that he would be, dumb enough to try to leave his, relationship with Rhea Ripley, because they, have been a power couple, like the power couple in the WWE for the past year or so. It's been over a year. And and by doing that, he's not just cheating on Rhea Ripley, he would be cheating on the entire Judgment Day, which would be that wouldn't be a great decision to make.
Well, I think as we've seen, the Judgment Day isn't as tight as they used to be. And I think Dom needs to figure out if he can be a superstar on his own for a little bit, or if he needs someone like Liv Morgan, a mommy of sorts. Because as we've seen, Damian Priest isn't exactly the leader of Judgment Day that we hoped he would be, and they're falling apart quickly. So I think
I think that although Damian Priest, he holds a grudge in that he doesn't really trust him, but I think Carlito would be exactly the type of person that Judgment Day needs right now, because, Judgment Day has not been very smart lately. They always attack at the wrong time. They always mess stuff up. Finn Balor didn't even know that he had a match last night, when literally I knew he had a match. WWE sent out an email promoting the fight to everyone about 2 hours before the show, and somehow he didn't know, or anyone on the Judgment Day didn't even know that he was fighting. So it just shows how I think they need someone who's sort of like a master strategist. And I think Carlito has proved that he he's been playing chess against the LWO for a while now, and he tricked them into getting Dragon Lee taken out of WrestleMania. So I feel like Judgment Day kind of needs someone who's like on top of like the mental side of things, because we've seen that they're very physically dominant, but they're not as smart when it comes to strategy.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on Logan Paul. We haven't seen him for a little while, but I think last we heard of him was after WrestleMania. I know he announced a draft pick the other week, but there were some whispers that he might be getting recruited to Judgment Day. So do you think that would be a good move for Logan to join Judgment Day?
Yeah, well, I mean, Logan Paul already has his own prime team with I Show Speed and KSI, and also Patrick Mahomes now, who has proven last week that he is not the most sportsmanlike player. Providing weapons into a match, like that's not. In fact, like if I was the NFL watching that, I'd be very concerned about that, because if he does that for this event, like what is he going to do during the next season of the NFL? If he's willing to cheat here, that shows like maybe we should look back at the Chiefs' history, and maybe they've done some things where they've won a Super Bowl or two that maybe they shouldn't have had due to cheating.
For some context, Patrick Mahomes was ringside, gave his Super Bowl rings, and as sort of like a brass knuckles weapon that were used in a match. And I agree with Carson that that's concerning about his character, and I think the NFL might need to do a little bit of investigation on his character and any potential tampering that may have gone on in the past couple Super Bowls.
I think it's worth checking into, especially with the roast of Tom Brady coming out and his concerning statements about, if the NFL would have just given me $20 million, I would have told them that I did it on the Deflategate. So the NFL's got to take a pretty close look at themselves and see what type of league they want to be.
Yeah, I think WWE and NFL are going through similar things right now, where they lack that strong leadership, and players and superstars think that they can get away with cheating. So, as we've said, Triple H might not be the man he needs to be. And the NFL, same thing going on with Patrick Mahomes cheating in the Super Bowl.
And Roger Goodell, it's just not inspiring.
No, bad leadership.
But anyways, back to Logan Paul. What I was trying to say is whether you like him or not, Patrick Mahomes is a great athlete, and I Show Speed is as well, as we've seen. He's had a boxing match against KSI, I believe, and he's also a soccer player, I think. But you know what? He's got a good team for him going there, and he's also tight with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. So if he wanted to make his own team, he definitely could. But he doesn't. He wants to still join Judgment Day, which says a lot about Judgment Day, I think, in my opinion. But I don't know how well Logan Paul would fit into Judgment Day, because he's kind of a guy who's all about himself. And I feel like Judgment Day has always been like the team is more important than the individuals. So I don't know how well he would fit in.
Yeah. Well, before Logan Paul was in the WWE, I know he had a YouTube. He made a lot of interesting videos on there, but he always had a little gang with him. He was always the leader, but I'm sure he doesn't mind having followers. So
KSI has the sidemen.
Yeah, exactly. Like all these big faces, big names have some buddies that sort of help them along and bring them up. So I think Logan Paul would join the Judgment Day if he could be, their leader. But I don't know if Damian Priest is willing to give that spot up. But we have seen some cracks within the Judgment Day. So potentially Damian Priest falls out as their leader and Logan Paul steps up.
What do you think it would take for Damian Priest to fall out as the leader there? Do you think that would be a Damian Priest Logan Paul match for the belt, or and will we see that in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
I know that they did come out recently with the King of the Ring poster, and Logan Paul is one of the biggest faces on that poster. So the fact that they're advertising him for that event means that they have something planned for. I don't know who he's going to challenge yet, but they definitely have something planned. I mean, the people that he's been mostly fighting with is Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, and he's already proved he can beat them both, even when they were teamed against him. So at this point, maybe he's got to go up against someone like Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
You think he's going to take on Cody?
A big call out, Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes.
I think that would be a pretty big step up for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if he's at that level yet, but
Yeah.
I think we've talked about before, the WWE doesn't have a ton of strong challengers for Cody Rhodes right now, with Roman Reigns gone, with The Rock also not being super involved. So Cody's talked about how he's been a bit of a boring champion, but in his defense, he doesn't have any really strong wrestlers to even put up a fight. His match against AJ Styles was solid against Backlash, but I think everyone was pretty confident that Cody was going to pull that one off. So I think we're waiting for the next big star to emerge, and it could be Logan Paul. As we've seen, he took down Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, two superstars at WrestleMania. So this could be the next step for him.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to talk about who do you think is going to win this King of the Ring tournament? I know we only have seen one half of the bracket so far, at least on the men's side. But out of the people we've seen so far, who do you think is going to win that half? And then out of the lineup on SmackDown, I don't think it's been confirmed who's on it yet, but who do you predict is going to, step up to the plate here?
We watched that Sheamus versus Gunther match last night, and those were two heavy hitters for sure. And I know Gunther already calls himself the ring general, so I think he's looking to add King of the Ring to his list of nicknames. And he looked pretty good against Sheamus last night. He did need some help, though. I'm not going to lie. If he didn't have his little buddy running around on the outside giving cheap shots, I don't know if he would have won that match. But
yeah. I mean, I don't see how Gunther could win the King of the Ring here. He could barely beat Sheamus, even with the cheap shot. Sheamus almost beat him on one leg. So I think Gunther is not going to be in this tournament for very long, and I think it's going to be a challenge to see him win. I also think he's just not going to have that energy behind him. I think the crowd, really turned on him for that cheap shot, and I think people are going to remember that. And a lot of these guys, they fight off of that energy. Yeah. If you don't have the crowd behind you, you're just not going to perform as well. Some people ride off that crowd. Some people, they take the hate and make it something positive, but I think that's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Exactly. So personally, I think that Jey Uso is going to take the SmackDown or the Raw side of the bracket. But now that you guys mentioned Gunther, I know that they did fight each other really recently, and Gunther came out on top. So, it would be interesting to see a rematch between the two, but I'm personally going to change my pick to Gunther because, the crowd never really has been behind him, and it hasn't really affected him. In fact, the only time that I've ever seen him lose is when he was overconfident and let his, ego get the best of him and lost to Sami Zayn. So I don't think the crowd is going to have any impact on him. He knows he's the ring general, whether the crowd thinks he is or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jey Uso has been gaining a lot of confidence. He's been looking good lately. His entrance is only getting more and more hype. People are getting into it. People love seeing him in the ring, and I think that that fuels him a little bit. I know there's still all the drama with him and the bloodline, so that always could play a part, but it's exciting to see main event Jey Uso getting his shot at the King of the Ring. I know one guy that's not going to win it is Ilya Dragunov. There were some people, but I don't even know how he's in the WWE, honestly. That man is a twig. Looks like I could throw him over my shoulder and snap him in half. So I predict an early exit for him for sure. And I don't know. I can't see how people see otherwise.
You know, I didn't really hear much about this guy. I know he was in like the minor league NXT. And I mean, seeing him, like I heard good things about him, but then he came out in his entrance and I was like, who the heck? Like, first of all, he's like really tiny, you know. He looks like he could maybe be big enough to play professional soccer. And he runs out there and does the weirdest dance I've ever seen. Like, maybe he would be a good tag team partner with someone like Seth freaking Rollins, because they both have shown that they love to do weird little dances coming out before the match. So I think they'd go together perfectly, but I don't really see. It was impressive how he was able to beat Ricochet, because Ricochet was hitting him with all these crazy moves, and he definitely has the mentality to be a great fighter. So, I mean, I'm curious to see what he has, but you know, I think he's got to hit the weight room at least once or twice a week if he wants to continue this profession.
Yeah, I just don't see how he could match up with someone like, I know Sheamus is out, but if Sheamus got in the ring with him, that would be a pretty quick match. So
yeah,
Ilya Dragunov, you know, it was fun to watch you in there. You know, Ricochet is a very acrobatic wrestler, and you might have had the upper hand because, you know, Ricochet is not the biggest guy in the world either. But I don't know, when he gets in the ring with some real wrestlers, I think we're going to see pretty quick that he doesn't have it like that.
Yeah.
Carson, I want to kind of switch it up a little bit and hear your opinion about WrestleMania heading to Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
That came out this week. And pretty exciting news. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's very exciting. You know, Vegas is one of the most electric cities in this country. And in fact, it's one of the most interesting places I've ever been to. And I think that this is the perfect setting for WrestleMania 41. You know, coming off of WrestleMania 40, which is one of the best WrestleManias ever. You know, my only concern is that, you know, Vegas is known for their sports betting and stuff. So I wouldn't want the money getting in the way of like a fair match, because we've already seen WWE, you know, they don't really have a control right now over their match. Imagine in Vegas, you know, there's going to be millions of bets on these matches. That's my only concern. But I guess there's a lot of time for WWE to get their head out of their ass before WrestleMania 41. So, yeah, best of luck.
I mean, I think Vegas is really the perfect spot for WrestleMania. I was talking to Andrew, earlier this week, and we were saying maybe WrestleMania should be in Vegas every year. It just fits the vibe, and I think that the city aligns pretty well with WrestleMania. I can see a lot of people wanting to, you know, fly in there, gamble, go to WrestleMania, go up and down the strip. I think it'll be a big draw. I would bet that, you know, this WrestleMania ends up being one of the most attended and one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. I think it would be cool. Like, I know the event is probably going to take place at the Raiders Stadium, but I think it would be cool if they also like showed like a screening of it live at the Sphere. Like, could you imagine watching WrestleMania in the Sphere? That would be pretty awesome.
That would be electric for sure.
Another interesting move could be like, what if they hosted, one of the matches on Harmon Corner on the Strip and just like put up a ring right on one of those corners and let the world see it. I think that would be pretty electric setting and pretty amazing, and it would really increase accessibility to the matches too. It would add excitement to the whole city rather than just Allegiant Stadium there.
Yeah, and I know when I was at WrestleMania in Philadelphia, even though there weren't any like official WWE matches going on outside of WrestleMania, there were still a ton of like independent shows putting events on in the area that weekend. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a wrestling match out in the Strip. I remember I went to a NASCAR race once and they had some luchadors going at it in the parking lot. So why not do something like that in Vegas? I couldn't think of a better place.
Yeah, I think this WrestleMania is definitely Triple H's chance to prove himself too, because as we've talked about, there's a ton of potential there. As far as I know, I don't think WrestleMania has ever been in Vegas before, but as we've seen recently, a lot of these sports teams, there's been a ton of stuff moving to Vegas, and it's exciting that WrestleMania is one of them. So I think this is Triple H's chance to prove that he can run the WWE well, and even if there is sports betting and all this money flowing around, he's not going to let it distract from the amazing wrestling that's going on, and he's not going to let illegal moves and all of that stuff get in the way of the fights. So I respect Triple H for scheduling this in Vegas, because he knows that it's going to be high stakes, and at least he's confident in himself that they'll be able to put on a great show. So I'm excited to see what he does, but I'm a little bit nervous because, as we've talked about, there's also a hacker that still has been terrorizing the WWE lately, putting up, it's disrupting with the broadcasts, and Triple H still has not addressed it or done anything about it. So it's a bold move to announce WrestleMania in Vegas with a hacker going on somewhere in the WWE universe.
Yeah, and I mean, as I said before, I think it's a smart move actually for them not to address it, because this hacker is probably just doing it for attention. But at the same time, like, the longer you wait and not do anything, the more like areas this hacker could breach within the company. Like, it already has control of the website, they already have been able to disrupt both Fox's stream and USA stream. So it's hacked two of like the probably like top 10 United States like television channels. So I mean, whoever this guy is, he's very, he knows what he's doing, and he's actually a threat. So I hope that WWE is taking this seriously, and it's just a strategic move that they're not saying anything about it. But if they're just like ignoring it and hoping like nothing happens, like, I think they're making a big mistake.
Have we confirmed it's not you, Carson?
No, it's not me. I can promise you it's not me, because I would be doing a lot crazier stuff than that.
But it does make you wonder, because as me and Seth have talked about, SmackDown and Raw are two completely different shows. And the fact that the hacker is able to hack both SmackDown and Raw shows that maybe it's not so hard to hack these shows, because he's figured it out for both shows, which are completely different things. So if he can hack both shows, how hard would it be for someone like you to, shoot a message up there? Hey guys, check out Chokeslam Radio,
Mm-hmm. So I mean, like, maybe this is why they're trying to switch to streaming, trying to switch to Netflix so fast. Maybe it's harder to hack, but if I'm a Netflix executive looking at this, I'm really worried, because if we're making a multi-billion multi-billion-dollar deal with a company, and they've had their whole system breached. Like, what does that say, like, about the future of, you know, the relationship with that company? Like, could that mean that they all, because I'm sure WWE already has a lot of information about Netflix since they've already signed the deal. Could that mean that they already lost all this information? Like, Netflix is basically like taking over all of TV and movies.
It's a good point.
Could be a very big impact on not just WWE, but like entertainment in general.
It's a good point.
Yeah, and if this hacker gains access to Netflix once that happens, you know, where is he going to stop? You know. Yeah. I need to be able to watch Stranger Things when it comes out, and if this hacker's getting in the way of that, he's already getting in the way of the WWE. You know, like where does it stop?
Exactly.
Well, guys, I really want to thank you for having me on the podcast. I've really enjoyed my time. Hopefully I can come back and be a guest again later on. I'm looking forward to Saudi Arabia and Vegas for WrestleMania. So
thank you, Seth. It's always great to have another wrestling expert on the podcast, and it's people like you who are going to help our show grow to the next level. So thank you. I really mean it. Thank you.
Yeah. It definitely helps having another person watch Raw and SmackDown and all of that with you, because you can really break down the matches together. There's a lot that goes on, in the ring, and then all of a sudden it'll switch to commercial break in the middle of a women's fight. And sometimes it's difficult to keep track of all that happens during those fights. So,
or they'll play a movie trailer while they're fighting
during the middle of the fight.
Yeah.
And so, Seth is always keeping me engaged and on my toes. And we need more people like that in the WWE universe. So
appreciate the time, guys. Have a nice
All right. Well, thank you for watching. Wait, is there anything that you would like to discuss before we go off the air?
We can talk about what's his name? Tongaloa, the new member of the Bloodline that showed up in Backlash. Like where does the Bloodline end? Like what is happening here? It seems like they get a new member every week, and I can't even keep track of all their names now.
Well, if you remember, The Rock showed the Bloodline family tree during the WrestleMania press conference. And the Bloodline is a lot bigger than we realize. It's a lot more than just Roman Reigns and the Usos and Solo. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg pretty much when it comes to the Bloodline. And I'm sure that there were a lot of people who weren't even included in that Bloodline family tree that maybe, some of them might not even be wrestlers, but they're still probably warriors based on the rest of their family. So, I mean, Tongaloa, you can tell that he's definitely has that bloodline like energy, like he is not there to mess around, even though no one really knows who he is yet, but he made sure everyone knew who he was immediately.
Yeah. He changed the course of that match real quick. But I think that the more members they add, there's more potential for cracks to be within the Bloodline and stuff to happen,
Exactly.
Like Jay and Jimmy, I don't think anyone ever saw them breaking up before that happened, the two brothers, but that happened, and all these members of the Bloodline, I don't even know how they keep track of each other. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a power move to a point to keep adding more members, but also it's risky because the more members you add, the more potential there is for cracks to form, for an uprising to happen, for people to want to break off and start their own group. So
exactly. We've already seen it with Jey Uso, and we don't even know where Jimmy Uso is. Like, he wasn't even included in the draft. So it's very there's a lot of things up in the air right now. And we also heard some breaking news on Friday that Paul Heyman doesn't even know, he hasn't even been in communication with Roman Reigns since WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So where is he, and who is really in charge at this point?
Yeah, that was shocking news, that because we all thought Roman Reigns pulled himself out of the draft, but Paul Heyman revealed that he was the one that pulled Roman out because no one had heard from Roman. So I don't know if it's because he's still recovering after his loss to Cody. Obviously, he held the belt for a really long time, and he obviously took that loss hard. But I don't think it's like him to just disappear like this. So I don't know what's going on, but
I did see that he was cited at Disneyland a couple days ago. So he might just be trying to enjoy some time off, or maybe he's trying to get away from the bloodline altogether.
Yeah.
Because we always thought he was at the top, but now it's, as we've seen every week, the bloodline is a lot bigger than we realized.
Yeah. And as soon as he disappears, Solo Sikoa takes over. So Roman goes to the happiest place on earth to try to recover. I respect that move. If I was sad after losing a match, that's probably where I would go. But I agree with you that the bloodline is huge. And when Roman comes back, I don't know where he's going to fit into all of this, because they've added all these new members since he's been gone. And I don't even know if he knows about it.
Yeah. I'm seeing from one of our comments on Instagram, Coach Jay Walsh says Triple H does not eat meat. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I actually didn't know that. But it wouldn't be surprising to me. I'm currently doing a carnivore diet, and I've seen a lot of, improvements in my, leadership skills from just the nutrients that come with meat. And that might explain why Triple H has had like a lack of leadership of the WWE in the last couple weeks. But you know what? I also support people who choose to become vegans. And I'm not, although I am, an expert in science, as you've seen in my other podcasts, I'm not a certified scientist like you, DRW15. So you might be able to have a better insight on this.
Yeah, well, I think one of my biggest takeaways from my time down at Pomona College was to dominate the dining hall, and to do whatever it takes to get those gains. And I think it is possible to, if you want to eat enough tofu and lettuce, to still dominate. But there's nothing like a good steak or a good rack of ribs, and that may be another reason why these wrestlers don't fully respect Triple H, because I know that Sheamus isn't vegan. I know that Gunther enjoys a good steak from time to time. And if the CEO is not willing to sit down and have a burger with some of the wrestlers, that could be costing him. You go out to get a meal with the boss, and he orders a Caesar salad with no chicken. What does that tell you about who he really is?
Wow.
So,
yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to get that protein somehow. So I hope Triple H is getting it, but things are starting to add up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one reason why you should watch Chokeslam Radio, because I don't think anyone else has talked about this online, at least. Yeah. I know that the WWE wouldn't talk about this. That's for sure.
No, they wouldn't. That's another thing that they would keep under wraps. So I'm glad we got the breaking news here first, and we're able to share that with our audience.
Yeah, it's kind of like when people say, you know, Logan Paul doesn't drink Prime, because you know they're promoting these meat products at all these wrestling events, you know, all the fans. Yet the leader of the whole entire show refuses to eat meat. So what does that say about the product you're selling people?
Yeah.
A lot of people argue that, oh, like the Prime bottles don't actually have Prime in it. It's just water. Actually, no. First of all, Prime has coconut water in it, which is better than actual water because it comes from, you know, has more nutrients. Yeah. But anyway, like why would all these wrestlers be drinking it? Why would they have the Prime hydration station if it was just water? Like, I don't understand that.
No. Yeah, people think it's just for the prop or just so that the wrestlers could knock over. But if it was that, then why wouldn't they just have water there? It's probably a lot cheaper to have a water sponsor than a Prime sponsor. But they believe in Prime.
Exactly.
And these wrestlers are benefiting from Prime. So there's no reason to not
and
have
even
it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even Roman Reigns, I've seen him carrying a Prime bottle, and he's cousins with The Rock, who has his like competing brand. So that just goes to show you it's not about, you know, trying to support a brand. It's they actually like this product, because if they just wanted to support the brand, then, you know, The Rock is a board member of WWE. So I feel like if it was actually about the product sales, then they would be promoting the Rock's brand, you know?
Yeah, there's no reason he wouldn't want to promote his own drink if it was the best. But at the end of the day, there's only one energy drink sponsor of the WWE, and it's
actually there's C4 too, though. I forgot about that. That's actually interesting, though, how you know, C4 is a big sponsor of the WWE, even at events that Logan Paul is a part of.
Yeah.
That might be something we might need to research and look into a little bit more. Could there possibly be like a monopoly or something going on?
I don't know how that works. Yeah, it's interesting to have two rival brands. That's like having Adidas and Nike sponsor the same team. You know, like I don't really know how that works, but
well, I guess when someone doesn't eat a lot of meat, they need like other ways to get energy. So maybe that's why they've leaned into energy drinks so much. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to think about. And we have a supporter in the comments saying that they're very surprised WWE doesn't sponsor any hot dog companies.
Were there any hot dogs at WrestleMania?
They had Philly cheesesteak and crab fries. I didn't know what a crab fry was. I didn't get it. It sounded weird. But yeah, to get like the crab fries and one like beer was like $40. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't get any food there. And I mean, that's probably a reason why the crowd was so dead, as I was saying earlier. So nobody wanted to eat or drink anything because they're already spending a lot to get their tickets, and then they hit you with that price on food. And there's also like not a lot of breaks in the show. Like I genuinely probably would have got food, but I would miss like half a match to go do it because they had lines for the food, and yeah, it just didn't seem worth it.
Are there no vendors going around from aisle to aisle selling anything?
Oh yeah, there are. They had people walking around, but I mean, I was in the top row, so they didn't really make it to me very often.
Yeah.
So maybe that's my fault.
Well, they gotta I don't know, treat everyone. you know, you're still there. You're still a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So top row or front row, you gotta get your hot dogs.
Exactly. All right. Well, do you have any? I actually did want to bring up one last thing.
Okay.
And that is they were giving a lot of crap this week to a wrestler that we know is a big fan of the show, R-Truth. Because, you know, WWE has been doing like the same type of thing like all these years. People are getting kind of bored of like the same old matches that just happen over and over again. He tried to start something new by involving the NCAA in a match with the WWE, which I think would have been really cool. I mean, we have a lot of really great, you know, NCAA wrestlers who are in the WWE now. So why not give those college athletes an opportunity to compete at the highest level for the tag team belts? I think that would be a really interesting match. And The Miz just kind of shut them down. And, you know, no one really took it seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's a great opportunity to you know, give these college athletes a little bit of exposure, a little bit of chance to, you know, compete, as you said, at the highest stage. You know, because a lot of these college athletes obviously look up to the professional wrestlers in the WWE. So to have an opportunity to share the ring with these people and get exposure to the fans in the WWE universe, I think would be a great thing. So I definitely support R-Truth in that, and I think it was a great idea. That, you know, I don't know why The Miz just shrugged it off so casually. Kind of messed up, but you know, they are a tag team at the end of the day. So they've got to make some compromise if they want to, you know, work things out.
Yeah, I think The Miz was probably just worried about losing their belts, but I mean, he could have been like said it in a more respectful way. You know, it's kind of seemed like he put him down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, R-Truth had a great idea. He was obviously very passionate and excited about it. So I agree that, you know, I think The Miz could have done a little bit more to support him in that, being his tag team partner and all. And it's still something that we would like to see. I think if they were doing matches like that, I would have considered doing collegiate wrestling, you know, so it could bring a lot more people into the sport.
Yeah. I mean, it's a win-win for both groups. You know, the WWE gets more, you know, interesting matches, and they get to, you know, showcase the best wrestlers at the collegiate level. And at the same time, more people are interested in NCAA wrestling. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, what if we had, like, you know, matches with, like, you know, what if they did, like, every once in a while, like a 3-on-3 match of like the 3 best D1 college basketball players against like 3 random NBA players? Like, that would be something that a lot of people would watch, you know? So I think R-Truth had a really great idea there, not just for WWE, but for, you know, like professional sports and college sports in general. You know, that would have been a really cool collaboration to see. Yeah.
And I think the WWE is a great platform to start that off, because there's been a lot of collegiate wrestlers who end up going to the WWE. So, you know, there's obviously links there, and bringing in a few of those collegiate athletes to compete in the ring would be great. And I think a lot of people would enjoy that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't really have any closing remarks today. So do you want to talk about anything else? It's getting kind of late here on the East Coast.
Yeah, it is. No, I think that's all from me. Yeah, it was great to have Backlash this weekend. We had SmackDown, Backlash, and then Raw back to back. A lot to break down. And thanks again to Seth freaking Pope for joining us tonight as a special guest.
He's definitely the greatest Seth in the world of wrestling.
Yeah. and I would argue the most knowledgeable guest we've ever had on this podcast so far.
Yeah, by a long shot, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Anyways, thank you once again for tuning in to another, captivating episode of Chokeslam Radio. We hope every Tuesday night on YouTube to see this live, or on X or Instagram or wherever we decide to stream. And make sure to also check out story2.org and Chokeslam_radio on X.
Mm-hmm. And BOW15 on YouTube as well.
All right. Well, have a great night, everybody. Remember to chokeslam that like and subscribe button. And as the final bell tolls, rest in peace.